Corey, we feel like we're playing something a little familiar today, but it's a brand new title making its way over the consoles. This is Mordhau. This is a medieval setting with just battle after battle, and if you think this sounds familiar, Chivalry 2 comes to mind instantly because yeah, they're one competing with the other is basically what we're getting into. But Mordhau has its own little spin off of things, and it's hard. It's one of these things we talked before even starting this review. How do you not compare it to this competitor? It's almost worth doing a versus kind of game review in a sense because it is so comparable to the other. But going ahead into Mordhau, dude, I had an okay time, right? I think that's kind of what I was there and I was getting through it, but I wasn't really pulled in. I was looking for that hook, that big connection that I wanted to be going through and grinding because it's a grind to get into some of these things. And I do appreciate other things over top of Chivalry 2, but I also appreciate Chivalry 2 in the end for other things. So it's kind of this mixed back of going back and forth, this mismatched kind of thing. And it's just Mordhau being the newer game feels like an older game to me. Corey, how about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, this game originally came out on PC, and it has a pretty large following. Like, this genre is very particular. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally kind of got my feet wet playing Chivalry 2 first. I've never played Mordhau before, so it coming to console, I think, is awesome, because now we've kind of got these two competing games, and I was able to take my, experience with Chivalry 2 and bring it over here. So there was a lot of things that felt familiar. The first person view, being able to switch into third person, I really appreciate because that is my preferred style. But first person kind of allows you to get a little bit immersed into this, and it does tend to be a lot of fun, but you can't see anybody from side to side, and I don't like getting my head chopped off all the time. So I usually play in third person view. So that was actually, for me, one of the first things I checked for to make sure I could do that. And they actually introduced that in a pretty short tutorial. It takes about like 15 minutes to do, and they give you the basics on how it kind of works with a sword and the different moves that you can do. You can actually flip your sword around into Mordhau stance, which allows you to kind of just smack people with the butt end of your weapon, which is pretty cool. They don't have that in Chivalry 2, so it kind of adds that kind of nice little touch that Mordhau's got over them. And honestly, when I first got into it, I could tell kind of right away that there was something a little bit off in how the movement here felt. I mean, when I'm playing on controller, I just think about Chivalry 2, and I'm like, all right, there is a difference here. But again, this is an older game. It's being ported over to console. There's going to be some things that aren't necessarily optimized for the controller. But at the same time, they have brought it to console, so let's get things moving here. The fighting works. Their mechanics, I think, are laid out in a way that makes sense, but at the same time, I had a difficult time with the parry timing, whereas in Chivalry, they give you a bit of a bigger window to work with. So I just honestly think the kind of learning curve in this game is just a touch steeper. So if you're a fan of this genre, you might actually really enjoy this game, kind of switching up a little bit, allowing to get into a game that kind of makes it a little bit deeper.
No, absolutely. I'm right there with you. And the art style is as well. Like, we kind of have this almost realistic look, but yet it's not polished, and that's kind of let down too. I get into this part where a castle, dude, is like it is a crisp 90-degree corner. I'm like, that is not a rock, right? Like, we're in this castle, and the stonework should be edged around and molded, right? And then the seams and stuff like that. That's stuff you get in Chivalry 2. That is stuff you get in other games in general. But coming into here, I was like, oh man, that is just a 90-degree block, and then just pasted the texture right on it. You lose that immersiveness, right? You lose that feeling. But one of the things I didn't appreciate though was the other game modes. They do have Brawl, which is like this free-for-all, and it was chaos. And I played this one called Sword Game. I thought, all right, this is kind of neat, right? Every time you kill somebody, you get a different weapon, and it's kind of like Gun Game if you play that, which I'm sure many of us have. So that was there. They have team deathmatch, all that kind of stuff. It's all mixed into Brawl. But the other one I did like was a PvP element, and I thought that one was cool. It's just horde mode, which is pretty basic. We've all done the horde mode thing before, but I don't know, that one really surprised me, dude. I didn't expect to kind of go, huh, I actually had a good time in there. But the mechanics of the game itself is what holds me back, right? I feel like it's clunky. I don't feel it's as smooth as what I was hoping it would be when I come off of Chivalry and Chivalry 2. It's a bit more arcadey compared to this one, where Mordhau is a little bit more slow paced and clunkier, and you do rely on your parry timing a little bit more, right? And you're, like you say, that window is just a little bit shorter too, so it's a bit more struggling. But when I'm in horde mode, dude, you die, and then you die, but your teammates... Yo, I'm happy to say this lobby was full, and all the other lobbies too when you play an invasion, right? You have a 48 player or a 64 player depending on which one you kind of choose. Lobby is loaded. Like, you are not short on players here, but it does feel more geared towards the PC side of things, because when you are maneuvering, I think it's a little bit smoother when you're moving your mouse versus a controller, and it just doesn't seem to kind of click just quite yet with that controller. Maybe one day they'll update it and fix it. But as of right now, dude, it's just a little clunky for me.
Yeah. Well, Drew, one of the things I do appreciate about this game, and I think this is what the big draw for people, is the amount of customization here. Chivalry was very cosmetic based. You could change, there was different armor sets that you could get. You could change up the looks of your weapon. That's very enjoyable, but it was on the basic side. Mordhau allows you to really dig in here. You can change up everything to the smallest little detail. You get different abilities even, so there's a layer to their customization that kind of brings that immersiveness back. You kind of jump in, you can really lay into customizing your character so that when you're out on the battlefield, you look and feel exactly like you want to, and I can really appreciate that. I think that's something that this game shines in, and it's definitely a highlight, especially with other games in the genre that don't have that. So they've definitely got that going for them, but when, like you said, you jump into the gameplay here and you just kind of, it doesn't translate as well as you were hoping for, and that's just kind of where it was leaving me.
Corey, overall, I think you and I have had a decent time, but not the most well-rounded time. I think there's a couple things they need to improve, but one of the things that sold me, puts me at a 7, is that character customization option, right? Using your loadout points, making my character look and feel like me, is a big selling feature we don't have in other games, including Chivalry 2 at the end of the day. So I'm able to get in there and make my character go in and buy armor pieces like a shoulder piece and then chest piece, and like right down to like a neck piece. And my dude I got myself, it's got a hood. Gotta get that stealth look, even though there's no stealthing in this game whatsoever. But I had a good time, but overall, like, it's just a little clunky, right? A couple little things to clean up. Overall, though, yeah, dude, 7 for me. How about you?
Well, I guess maybe I'm being a little bit biased here. I'm trying not to be. I gave this game the fair chance it deserves, but I think I am a Chivalry 2 guy at heart, so I've got to give this one a 6.5. I enjoyed my time here, but there are some things I'd like them to change. This is new over to console, so there is an opportunity for that to happen. The development team for Mordhau isn't the largest, but I'm sure they're constantly updating this game as much as they can. So, you know, maybe we can hold on for a little bit longer and this game will smooth out a little bit for us. But currently, right now, as it stands, it's just got enough issues that I got to give this one a 6.5.